Have you ever looked at your life and wondered how you ended up here? You used to have the career, the social status, the full house, and the big plans. But then, one by one, the pillars began to fall. A job loss you didn't see coming. A health scare that drained your energy. A divorce. Or a betrayal that left your house feeling like an empty shell. You're sitting in a quiet apartment in the suburbs of Philadelphia or driving a beat-up car through the rural roads of Missouri. And you're asking the ceiling, God, why did you take it all? I need you to listen with your soul, not just your ears, because what the world calls loss, the Almighty calls strategic emptying. If you are hearing my voice right now, it is because you are a chosen one who has been stripped to the bone. And you weren't stripped because you were being punished. You were stripped because you were being reset. Today, God has a message that will turn your grief into a lion's roar. He says, I had to empty your hands so I could occupy your heart. But to survive this season, you must understand the logic of the total strip down. Think about a historic building in downtown Boston or Charleston. If you want to turn a crumbling warehouse into a luxury skyscraper, you don't just paint the walls, you gut it. You pull out the old plumbing, the rusted wires, and the rotten wood. The building looks destroyed during the process. It looks like a disaster to the neighbors. But the architect knows that the gutting is the most expensive and most necessary part of the renovation. You are currently being gutted by the master architect. God is pleased with your endurance in the rubble. He saw you cry when that last door slammed shut. He saw the fear in your eyes when your bank account hit zero. But he also saw something else. He saw that when you had nothing, you still had him. The urgent news for the chosen one is that the enemy didn't take those things from you. The global system didn't take those things from you. God allowed the removal. He removed the prop of your salary so you would learn to rely on his provision. He removed the prop of your social circle so you would learn to hear his voice. He removed the prop of your old identity so he could give you your eternal authority. Across the American landscape, a remnant of empty-handed lions is waking up. You feel like a failure compared to the successful elites who seem to have it all. But remember the logic of the core. The people who have it all, through the system, are slaves to the system. You, who have lost it all, are finally free. A man who has nothing left to lose is the only man the devil cannot bribe. A woman who has been through the fire and came out with only her faith is the only woman the system cannot intimidate. This strip down was your final vetting. God was checking to see if you loved the gifts more than the giver. And because you stayed faithful in the empty house, you have just qualified for the palace construction. The urgent shift is that the emptying is officially over. The demolition phase has reached its conclusion. And the foundation has been found solid. In the next part, I am going to show you the 3 things God replaces first. I'm going to reveal the master strategy for rebuilding from the ashes. The void in your life is not a hole. It is a landing strip for the manifestation. The lion is no longer mourning what was lost. The lion is scanning for what is coming. Are you ready to see the blueprint of your new life? Because the master plan is now at the grand rebuild. And the new version of you is going to make the old version look like a shadow. The feeling of being stripped is often accompanied by a crushing sense of shame. You look at your peers in the suburbs of Atlanta or the tech hubs of Austin, and they seem to be adding floors to their buildings while yours has been leveled to the ground. But the logic of the core dictates that God never subtracts without the intent to multiply. The strategic emptying was a cleaning of the slate. God is pleased with your humility. During this naked season, He saw you walk into the grocery store with a heavy heart, wondering how you became the project when you used to be the provider. But today, the urgent word is, the rebuild has begun. God is not going to give you back what you lost. He is going to give you what you were always meant to have. There are 3 pillars that the master architect replaces first, and they are arriving in your life in the seconds following your total surrender. The first pillar is the replacement of source. In your old life, your source was your resume, your network, or your steady paycheck from the corporation. These were cisterns vessels that hold water but cannot create it. When God stripped you, He was breaking the cistern so you would find the spring. The urgent shift is that you are no longer dependent on the global economy for your survival. God is pleased with your shift in trust. He saw you stop checking the job boards and start checking the Word, because your source is now the Creator. Your supply is no longer finite. Think about a farm in the Midwest during a drought. The farmer who relies on the rain is in trouble, but the farmer who has tapped into the deep well is still green. You have tapped into the deep well of divine provision. This means that even if the system crashes tomorrow, your hub will remain funded. The first thing God is replacing is your financial foundation. He's moving you from earning to inheriting. The second pillar is the replacement of identity. Most of what was stripped from you was actually clutter that you had mistaken for character. You thought you were your title. You thought you were your marriage. You thought you were your zip code. When those things were removed, you felt like you were nothing. But that nothingness was the raw canvas God needed. The urgent news is that God is replacing your social identity with your kingdom identity. In the suburbs of Chicago or the rural towns of Montana, the chosen one is being rebranded. You are no longer the one who lost the business. You are the one whom God restored. God is pleased with your internal transformation. He saw you shed the mask of pride and put on the robe of righteousness. This new identity is uncancelable. The world that can't take away what it didn't give. When you walk into a room now, you don't carry the hustle of a man trying to prove himself. You carry the quiet authority of a son who knows his father owns the building. The third pillar is the replacement of circle. When you were stripped, you probably noticed that a lot of people conveniently disappeared. The friends who were there for the happy hours weren't there for the hard hours. This was not a tragedy. It was a sanitized sweep. God was removing the fair weather parasites. Before He brought in the covenant partners, the urgent shift is that God is replacing your crowd with a council. He is bringing in people who don't love you for your function, but for your frequency. God is pleased with your solitude. He saw you handle the quiet phone with dignity. And now, the replacement is arriving. You are about to meet people who will invest in your dream when it's still in the rubble. These are the mighty men and women who will help you build the new version of your life. They aren't looking for a handout. They are looking for a handshake in the spirit. The logic of the elite is to make you fear loss so they can control you. If they can threaten your lifestyle, they can dictate your loyalty. But because you have already lost everything and survived, you are bulletproof. The master plan has made you a sovereign soul. God is pleased with your fearlessness. He saw the devil try to use poverty to break you, and you just used it to pray harder. Now the devil has nothing left to threaten you with. The urgent news is that the first pillar is already being set in stone. You are starting to feel a confidence that makes no sense given your circumstances. That is the identity pillar taking hold. You are starting to see random opportunities that pay better than your old job. That is the source pillar activating. The manifestation is moving from the internal to the external. But you must handle the grief of the old building. Sometimes we get so attached to the rubble that we refuse to see the crane standing over us. Stop looking at the empty plot and start looking at the blueprint. God says, remember not the former things. The old version of your life had a glass ceiling. The new version has no ceiling at all. It is a hub of unlimited influence. Bauch, think about the logic of the core. The strip down was the taxes you paid to leave the matrix. Now that the debt is paid, you are free to build on kingdom soil. Every chosen one across America who has been stripped is currently being sourced. From the mechanics in Michigan to the nurses in Florida, the divine rebuild is happening simultaneously. You are part of a new infrastructure of provision. In the next part, I am going to show you the master strategy of the rebuild. I'm going to reveal the 3 steps to accelerating the manifestation of your new estate. The demolition is over. The foundation is cured. The lion is no longer sleeping in the ruins. The lion is overseeing the construction. Are you ready to see the walls go up? Because the master plan is now at the vertical expansion, and the payoff is going to be visibly violent in its abundance. The rubble of your old life is not a sign of failure. It is the clean slate required for a divine masterpiece. Gitzu, when God strips you of everything, He is not just cleaning house, He is changing the zoning laws of your destiny. In the old zone, you were only allowed to build a residential life small, private, and focused on survival. But in the new zone, the kingdom zone, you are licensed to build a distribution cathedral. And God is pleased with your vision today because you are finally looking past the dust of the demolition and seeing the steel beams of the future. The urgent strategy for the chosen one in this rebuild phase is to move with precision and speed. You are no longer in the refining fire. You are in the building season. And the master architect has a specific 3-step protocol to accelerate the rising of your new estate. The first step is the clearing of the mental debris. The biggest obstacle to your rebuild is not a lack of money. It is the memory of the loss. If you keep trying to use old bricks to build a new temple, the structure will be weak. The old bricks are the thoughts of, how could they do this to me? Or, I'll never get back what I had. God is pleased with your mental renovation. He saw you catch yourself when you started to spiral into the what-ifs of the past. The urgent shift is to declare the clean slate. in the quiet of your home in suburban Illinois, or the solitude of your porch in South Carolina. You must speak to the spirit of the past and say, "Your lease is up." When you clear the mental debris, you create the vacuum that the Holy Spirit fills with blueprints. You will notice that the moment you stop mourning the old job, the new venture suddenly makes sense. The logic of the core dictates that you cannot see the crane if you are still staring at the wrecking ball. The second step is the activation of the seed in the rubble. Even when you are stripped of everything, there is always a residue of destiny. There is one skill, one contact, or one small idea that the enemy couldn't touch. That is your seed. Think about the widow in the scriptures who only had a little oil. The world saw almost empty, but the prophet saw the beginning of an empire. The urgent instruction is to anoint the small thing. Take that one skill you have. Maybe it's your ability to organize, your talent for speaking, or your knack for fixing things, and treat it like it's a global corporation. God is pleased with your stewardship of the scraps. He saw you work on that small project with the same excellence you used to bring to the big office. When you honor the seed in the rubble, God authorizes the sudden growth across the American heartland. The chosen ones are starting micro hubs from their kitchen tables. And because they are built on kingdom foundation, these hubs are outperforming the globalist giants. Your small seed is the master key to your large estate. The third step is the alignment with the divine contractors. A rebuild is not a solo mission. Even though God isolated you during the strip down, He is now integrating you into the new network. The urgent shift is to look for the unlikely alignments. God is sending people into your life who have the resources you lack, but they need the frequency you carry. This is the divine barter system. You bring the anointing and the vision. They bring the tools and the timber. God is pleased with your willingness to partner. He saw you lay down your independent pride and realize that we are a body. In the suburbs of Detroit or the tech parks of Raleigh, the chosen one is finding their Barnabas, the person who sees the apostle under the rubble. When these two frequencies collide, the manifestation moves from inches per year to miles per hour. This is the counterattack of collaboration. The enemy wanted you alone and broken. God is making you aligned and formidable. The logic of the elite is to keep you in a state of permanent disaster recovery. They want you always fixing the past so you never fund the future. But the master strategy is to build forward. Every dollar that comes in now is not to pay for the past, but to prepare for the payoff. The urgent news is that the first floor of your new life is already visible in the spiritual realm. The permits have been granted by the High Court of Heaven. The materials have been prepaid by the blood of the covenant, and the lion is standing at the cornerstone, ensuring that every inch is level and true. God is pleased with your strategic patience. He knows it's hard to watch the walls go up one brick at a time when you used to live in a finished palace. But this time, the palace is fireproof. This time, the foundation is unshakable. The sudden wealth we talked about in previous messages is the finishing fund for this rebuild. It's arriving in stages. Stage 1 was survival. Stage 2 is stability. Stage 3 is supremacy. You are currently transitioning from stability to supremacy. The logic of the core ensures that your new building will be a safe haven for others who are about to be stripped by the world's failing systems. You were empty, so you could know how to fill. You were houseless in your spirit, so you could build a home for the remnant. The urgent shift is that you are no longer the victim of the demolition. You are the developer of the new era. In the next part, I am going to show you the strategy of the golden roof. I'm going to reveal how to crown your new life so that it attracts the favor of kings and the honor of the nation. The rubble is gone. The frame is up. The manifestation is vertical. Are you ready to see the top floor? Because the master plan is now at the grand finishing, and the view from the top is going to be worth every tear in the ruins. The walls of your new life are rising, and the structure is solid. But the master plan does not stop at mere stability. God is not just a renovator, He is a glorifier. The final stage of your physical and spiritual rebuild involves the strategy of the golden roof. In the logic of the core, the roof is the part of the building that is seen from the heavens first. It is the part that protects the interior from the storms. But it is also the part that reflects the sunlight to everyone for miles around. God is pleased with you today because you have moved past the scarcity mindset of just wanting a ceiling over your head, and you are now ready for a crown of favor. The urgent word for the chosen one is prepare for the finishing touch. Think about the logic of the elite. They understand that perception is reality. They spend millions on the finishing details, the gold leaf on the domes, the marble in the lobbies, because they know that excellence attracts influence. God is about to finish your life with a level of excellence that will make the world's elite look like amateurs. The golden roof is the supernatural favor that God places over the chosen one once they have survived the total strip down. It is a luster on your life that cannot be manufactured by a PR firm or bought with a marketing budget. It is the glow of a person who has walked through the fire and didn't even come out smelling like smoke. The strategy of the golden roof involves the recalibration of your atmosphere. For years, you carried the atmosphere of the underdog. You carried the scent of the struggle. In the suburbs of Phoenix or the office buildings of Charlotte, people saw you as the one who is trying to survive. But the urgent shift is that God is replacing the scent of struggle with the fragrance of favor. Suddenly, when you walk into a room, the atmosphere changes before you even speak. People feel a weight of authority around you. The golden roof acts as a frequency shield that repels the spirit of rejection and attracts the spirit of honor. God is pleased with your dignity in the rubble, and now He is rewarding it with honor in the open. The golden roof also represents divine protection of the internal work. Now that you have rebuilt your inner chamber, your character, your peace, and your intimacy with the Father God is putting a seal over it so that it can never be stripped again. The urgent news is that this new building is audit-proof, and storm-proof. The enemy will try to look for the old cracks in your foundation, but he will only see the golden reflection of your new identity. You are covered by the covenant. In the rural heartlands and the gritty urban centers of America, the chosen ones are being covered for a purpose. You are the safe houses of the kingdom. When the economic rain turns into a global hurricane, your golden roof will be the only thing that remains dry. Your abundance will be the umbrella for the weary. God is pleased with your strategic aesthetics. He knows that excellence is the language of the kingdom. He is giving you the budget to do things the right way this time. No more cutting corners. No more patchwork. The rebuild is a premium manifestation. The urgent shift is that you must stop settled for good enough and start demanding godly. Whether it's the way you present your business, the way you maintain your home, or the way you carry your body. The golden roof demands a higher standard. You are the showroom of the Almighty. The logic of the elite is to keep the gold for themselves and leave the tin for the masses. But the master plan is inverting the pyramid. The chosen one who was empty is now enriched. The one who was stripped is now sealed. The one who was hidden is now highlighted. The urgent news is that the first layer of the golden roof is already being applied to your life. You are starting to receive unsolicited honor. People are apologizing for things they did years ago. Doors are swinging open just because you arrived. This is the shine of the Father's pleasure. But you must handle the glare of the golden roof. When you start to shine this bright, you will attract attention. Some of that attention will be admiration, but some will be envy. The logic of the core dictates that you don't dim your light to make dark hearts feel comfortable. You keep the roof polished. You keep your praise loud. God is pleased with your unapologetic abundance. He saw you shrink yourself to fit in with the small-minded in the past. He is saying, no more shrinking. Grow until the world has to look up to see you. Think about the logic of the core behind the strip down. You were emptied so you could be expanded. The new building is 10 times larger than the old one. It has to be, because it's no longer just a family home. It's a kingdom hub. You are going to host the mighty. You are going to fund the ministers. You are going to harbor the fugitives of the system. The golden roof is the signal that your hub is authorized and operational. The urgent shift is that the scaffolding is coming down. For months, it felt like you were under construction, messy, loud, and hidden by the work. But in the next few seconds of spiritual time, the scaffolding is being removed. The world is about to see the finished work. The Judas who laughed at the demolition will be the first one blinded by the golden roof. The family that stripped you will be the first ones seeking shelter under your eaves. In the next part, I am going to show you the strategy of the open house. I'm going to reveal how to operate the hub so that the abundance keeps flowing and the purpose keeps growing. The construction is over. The crown is set. The manifestation is radiant. Are you ready to open the doors? Because the master plan is now at the grand opening, and the ribbon is about to be cut by the Lion of Judah. The scaffolding is down. The golden roof is reflecting the light of heaven. And for the first time in years, the chosen one is standing in a finished work. But the master plan of the Almighty is never about selfish consumption. God did not strip you of everything and then rebuild you into a palace just so you could hide behind your new walls and enjoy the air conditioning. The urgent word for this stage of your manifestation is activation. You are moving from the construction phase to the open house phase. In the logic of the core, your life has become a kingdom embassy. An embassy is a piece of territory that belongs to one country but sits in the middle of another. Your life sits in the middle of the globalist matrix, but it is governed by the laws of Zion. God is pleased with you today because you are ready to open your doors and become the distribution center for those who are still trapped in the ruins. The strategy of the open house involves the recalibration of your hospitality. In your old life, your house was about your privacy. In your new life, your hub is about your purpose. Across the suburbs of Chicago, the ranch lands of Wyoming, and the high rises of Miami, God is activating these hubs simultaneously. The urgent shift is that you will begin to receive divine appointments. People will show up at your gate spiritually, digitally, or physically, not because you advertised, but because they smelled the bread. They are the ones who are currently being stripped by the systems of this world. They are the ones who are losing their jobs, their peace, and their identities. And God is sending them to you because you have the blueprint of survival. You are the one who can look them in the eye and say, I was where you are. I lost it all. And here is how the King rebuilt me. God is pleased with your empathy. He saw you keep your heart soft while the world was trying to make it hard. And now your pain has become your product. Your loss has become your legitimacy. The logic of the elite is to build gated communities to keep people out. But the master plan of the kingdom is to build gated strongholds to bring people in. Your golden roof acts as a beacon for the remnant. When you open your hub, you are activating the economy of the kingdom. This is where the sudden wealth we discussed becomes functional capital. You aren't just giving handouts, you are giving hand-ups. You are funding the new ventures of other chosen ones. You are providing the safe space for the pure truth tellers to gather and strategize. The urgent news is that your hub is about to become a node of power. As the global systems continue to destabilize, these divine hubs will be the only places where order exists. God is pleased with your leadership. He saw you manage the rubble, and now he is trusting you to govern the glory. But you must handle the security of the hub. An open house does not mean no rules. In the logic of the core, the more abundance you carry, the more selective you must be with who stays for dinner. The gatekeeper strategy we talked about earlier is even more critical now. You are opening the house to the seekers, but you are closing it to the spies. The enemy will try to send saboteurs disguised as needy sheep. He wants to find the weak spots in your new structure. But God is pleased with your vigilance. He is giving you heat-seeking discernment. You will be able to look at a person and know instantly if they are there for the bread or for the betrayal. Your hub is a sanctuary, not a saloon. Keep the frequency high. Keep the worship constant. The golden roof only stays shining as long as the inner chamber is burning. The urgent shift is moving from recovery to repopulation. You have recovered everything. Now you must repopulate your life with the right elements. The empty chairs at your table are about to be filled with the mighty. You are going to meet people who have pieces of the puzzle that you've been missing in the rural heartlands and the tech corridors of America. The network of hubs is going live. You are connecting to other chosen ones in a way that creates a net of provision across the nation. This is the strategic counterattack. The enemy wanted you isolated in the rubble. God has you integrated in the hub. The logic of the core ensures that when one hub is attacked, the others supply the reinforcement. You are no longer a target. You are a territory. God is pleased with your kingdom hospitality. He saw you prepare the guest room even before the guests arrived. He saw you buy the extra seeds even before you had the land. That act of faith has triggered the arrival. The urgent news is that the knock at the door is coming in the next few seconds of spiritual time. It will be a connection that changes everything. It will be a project that requires all of your new resources. It will be the reason why you were stripped in the first place. You were emptied so you could be filled to flow. Think about the logic of the core behind the total strip down. You were a cistern that could only hold a little. Now you are a cathedral that can host a multitude. The old version of you would have been crushed by this responsibility. But the new version of you was built for the weight. The golden roof is the badge of your heavy duty. God is pleased with your strength. He is oiling your hinges and strengthening your bolts. The urgent shift is that the grand opening is now. The scaffolding is gone. The foundation is solid. The roof is shining. The table is set. The lion is standing at the front door, welcoming the remnant and intimidating the wicked. In the final part of this message, I am going to show you the strategy of the eternal estate. I'm going to reveal how to ensure that this hub becomes a heritage that never crumbles. The opening is active. The activation is total. The manifestation is global. Are you ready to welcome the world? Because the master plan is now at the total occupancy, and the king is coming over for dinner. We have reached the pinnacle of the master plan. You have traveled from the total strip down to the hub activation, and now you stand at the threshold of the strategy of the eternal estate. In the logic of the core, a chosen one does not build for a season. They build for sovereignty. The greatest fear of the enemy is not that you will get wealthy, but that your wealth will become an eternal heritage that he can never claw back. God is pleased with you today because you have stopped asking, "How long will this last?" and started declaring, "This is the new standard." The urgent word for the final phase of your manifestation is permanence. You are no longer a visitor in the palace. You are the landlord of the legacy. The strategy of the eternal estate involves the solidification of the spiritual borders. Think about the great estates of the American founders or the historic dynasties of old. They weren't just buildings. They were strongholds of values. Now that your hub is active and the open house has begun, you must seal the borders so that the old corruption can never re-enter. The urgent shift is that you are moving from building to governing. In your home in the heart of Texas, your studio in Nashville, or your farm in Pennsylvania, the laws of the house must be absolute. God is pleased with your kingdom discipline. He saw you set the standards of excellence for your new team and your new life. By sealing the estate, you ensure that the stripping season can never be repeated. The enemy can only strip what is loose. But your new life is bolted to the rock. The logic of the core behind the eternal estate is intergenerational momentum. When God stripped you, He wasn't just thinking about you. He was thinking about your lineage. He had to remove the weak DNA of your old life, the poverty mindsets, the people-pleasing, and the fear of man so that your children and grandchildren would inherit a clean foundation. The urgent news is that the scars of your sacrifice are becoming the shields of their success. God is pleased with your pioneer spirit. He saw you take the hit for the family so that the next generation wouldn't have to. The eternal estate is a financial and spiritual fortress that will provide for the remnant long after you have transitioned to the great cloud of witnesses across the American heartland. Chosen dynasties are being established. You are the Abraham or the Sarah of your era. You are the one who staked the claim. The logic of the elite is to keep power concentrated in their families through trusts and endowments. God is teaching the chosen one to use kingdom trusts. He is giving you the strategy to anchor your resources in assets that outlast the system. Land, education, truth media, sacred community. The urgent shift is that you are no longer spending your payoff. You are endowing the future. God is pleased with your legacy mindset. He saw you look at your new abundance and say, "How does this serve the year 2050?" Because you are thinking like an eternal being. God is giving you eternal access. The spring we talked about in part 2 is now a river, and the river is becoming an ocean. But you must handle the temptation of the statue. As the eternal estate becomes visible and successful, the enemy will try to make you build a statue of yourself. He wants you to become obsessed with your own legend. But the master plan requires you to remain a steward of the king. The golden roof stays shiny only as long as it is reflecting His light, not your ego. God is pleased with your persistent humility. He saw you walk through the front door of your new life and immediately fall on your knees in thanks. That posture of worship is the lock on the estate. As long as you stay small in your own eyes, God will keep you giant in the eyes of the world. The urgent news is that the commissioning is complete, the scaffolding is recycled, the open house is buzzing with the mighty, and the estate is registered in the books of heaven. You are no longer the one who lost it all. You are the steward who restored the standard. Every chosen one across America who has survived the total strip down is now being seated in their territory of reign. From the mothers in Minnesota to the builders in Florida, the new infrastructure is solid. The logic of the core behind this entire kitsch ban is simple. The end is better than the beginning. You were stripped because the beginning was too small for the end. You were emptied because the original version couldn't handle the ultimate version. God is pleased with the finished product. And He is looking at you today, standing in your golden-roofed hub, surrounded by your covenant circle, and overseeing your eternal estate. And He is saying, "Well done, good and faithful servant. Enter into the joy of your Lord." The master plan is executed. The counterattack is established. The chosen one is home. The lion is resting on the porch of the palace, and the peace of God is the guard at the gate. The wait is over. The work is done. The legacy begins now. We have completed the deep dive into the master plan of the strategic emptying. You have traveled from the pain of the demolition to the permanence of the estate. If you are reading these words, it is because your soul has recognized its resurrection. You are the living proof that the enemy can strip the branch, but he can never kill the root. The urgent takeaway of this journey is that nothing is ever lost in the kingdom. It is only transformed. The car you lost. It was a seed for the fleet you now manage. The house you lost. It was a seed for the hub you now operate. The reputation you lost. It was a seed for the authority you now carry. God did not just replace your life. He redeemed it. The today that God is pleased with you is the day you realized that the strip down was the greatest gift you ever received. It gave you the freedom that the world can never understand. It gave you the strength that the system can never break. And it gave you the relationship with the Father that will never end. The counterattack is no longer a strategy. It is your lifestyle. The manifestation is no longer a goal. It is your environment. The chosen one has been vindicated in the sight of all. Go forth and build. Go forth and bless. Go forth and be the standard. The master plan is in your hands. The lion is at your side. The king is on his throne. And you are exactly where you are supposed to be. If you have survived the total strip down and you are ready to claim your eternal estate, let the world know that the resurrection has happened. If you are ready for your permanent manifestation and you accept your legacy, comment 999 below. If you are still in the rubble and need the mighty to stand with you while you build, comment 0. We are your new circle, and we are the divine contractors of your future. If you have a victory report of how God has already started the rebuild in your life, share it. Your testimony is the cement for someone else's foundation. And finally, subscribe to the channel. We are the blueprint for the remnant. And your hub is just getting started. The strip down is over. The eternal estate is now your reality. Welcome to the palace. Chosen one.